With the launch of Season 6 of Delta Force, there were some weapon balance changes, and one of the weapons that was touched by the balance changes is the R93. Now, it got its damage buffed from 74 damage base to 100 damage. Now, it doesn't actually start doing 100 damage up until a certain amount of meters, and then you have that gap between the start of when you're doing 100 damage up until the end, and that's what we commonly refer to as the sweet spot. So Battlefield 1 had this. If you've ever played that game, all the bolt action rifles had a sweet spot mechanic in which you could one hit to the chest at that specific range. And considering that buff, I thought it was well timed that I made my first sniper build for Delta Force, and this one is an aggressive build that I want to share with all of you today. So we got a nice R93 here. Now, there aren't a ton of attachments that you can actually put on the weapon, but I'll go through them really quickly. So considering it's an aggressive build for the sniper rifle, we're going with the R93 lightweight short barrel to really get that handling fast, because we're going to want to ADS as quickly as possible. For the muzzle device, I went with the Whisper tactical suppressor. So this actually displaces the entire sweet spot range, gives you extra control, which we don't really care for here. Slight cost in handling, get extra stability at the cost of accuracy, but it does offer that weak gunshot suppression, so you get reduced minimap visibility when firing, and yeah, it is a really nice suppressor overall. Then with the heat shield, just put it on. There's no penalty. You get +1 handling for that. Now, there is a 15-round mag. I chose to not go for it because it reduces the handling by 8, albeit you can equip a mag mount when you put that mag on there, but the base magazine size for the R93 is 10 rounds, which feels totally fine. Then for the optic, I went with something a little bit more mid-range, not like a very magnified scope, so I went with the Viewpoint 3X because, again, aggressive sniper build, we're wanting to play within that sweet spot range, so go ahead and install that. For the calibration, now I calibrated the barrel with -50 grams and -10 millimeters, extra ADS speed, extra ADS movement speed. The reason being, you're going to be fighting in arguably close-ish to medium range engagements. The muzzle velocity in this case, not a big deal, and we did get a muzzle velocity boost with the Whisper tactical suppressor. And then with the optic, I just went with -20 millimeters in eye relief. Now, if we look at the actual stats of the weapon here, you can see 100 damage, but let's go look in the details. You can see it starts off at 0.8x, and then at roughly 32 meters, you're doing 1x damage, so 100 damage to the chest and to the stomach, up until this is like 60 meters. I think it's might be 59 or 60 meters that you're doing the 100 damage to the chest. So this is really going to be the range at which you want to engage targets. And honestly, if you're engaging at less than 30 meters, chances are if the person has an AR or an SMG, you're probably dead. So you really want to play within that range here. And for the control, don't really care about that. For the ADS speed, we have a respectable 344 milliseconds ADS speed for the bolt action, which is not bad. And we also increased the current ADS movement speed for stability. You know, didn't really focus on that. And then accuracy is whatever. You're not going to be hip firing this weapon anyways. Now, in order to use this R93 build, you will need to level it up to level 28. So there's not that many levels for the bolt actions, honestly, because there's not a ton of attachments. It's almost all the way. I would just honestly just slap some weapon XP tokens on the weapon to level it up. But yeah, the sweet spot mechanic is just fantastic, right? Because you're doing that 100 damage to the chest within that range that you want. You could also equip the longer barrel to extend that damage range up to 99 meters, and then it brings like the sweet spot range from 30 to 60, or I think it was 32 to 60, to like roughly 37 up to 80-ish. But I was mostly going for an aggressive build here, and yeah, it obviously expected the ADS speed quite a bit when you equip that longer barrel. Considering the relatively fast fire rate of the R93, I felt like it fits very well the job of being an aggressive bolt action rifle. Your fire rate is 65 RPM, just slightly lower than the Marlin lever action rifle if you were to equip the Marlin Rhino lever, which reduces the fire rate by 25 RPM. That Marlin has 75 rate of fire, and then the R93 has 65 rate of fire, so pretty comparable. And then you're doing that sweet spot damage range from like 32 up until 60 meters, which is a very nice range to be able to use the bolt action. Now, the AWM also does a ton of damage. It does 100 damage to the chest only, though, and it's not a sweet spot. It's from 0 meters up until like 48-ish meters, if I recall correctly. So you really have to engage targets at a range that's not ideal for a bolt action. as opposed to the R93, which you can really move that damage range around. So if you want to do it at longer ranges, up until like 80-ish meters with the longer barrel, then you just equip that. And if you want to do it at more aggressive ranges, then you put the light barrel on there with potentially the tactical suppressor to push the range out a little bit, and it's just a ton of fun to play with. The chambering is so quick. With this build, the ADS speed is really quick as well, especially for a bolt action rifle, and I was just quick scoping people within like that sweet spot range. I was trying my best to gauge how far people were from me in order to get that ideal range at which I can one-shot them to the chest or to the stomach. But yeah, it is an absolute blast. It brings me back to Battlefield 1, having that sweet spot mechanic. But yeah, you just have to play around it. Make sure you have a trusty sidearm. I was rocking the Glock 18 just for those oh shit situations where I potentially wasn't firing at a target that was within that sweet spot range, maybe was a little bit closer, still got a shot off, wanted to finish off the kill. Rechambering is a little bit too long when they're actively pushing you because they see you have a bolt action rifle. Swap to the G18, finish them off, functioned absolutely fantastic. Or arguably you could even play as Luna, which is what I was doing, using the Voltaire to deter people from pushing you and stuff like that. You can really get some cool plays with all of that stuff combined as an aggressive bolt action player. And I actually finished a lot of the times top of the scoreboard. I was pushing objectives by myself sometimes, and yeah, it's just a ton of fun. I'm always a fan of aggressive bolt action sniper rifle gameplay. It's just so fun and so satisfying to get those kills on, you know, players that are using assault rifles and semi-automatic weapons like marksman rifles or SMGs that are really good also at decent ranges. It just feels so satisfying getting those one taps to the chest. Oh, there's nothing like it. Same thing with the Marlin lever action. A ton of fun to play with. All those weapons are just a blast. They're high risk, high reward. But yeah, once you start getting used to playing around their weaknesses, you really develop the snapshot aim stuff, and it's a ton of fun. So I wanted to share it with all of you. I know it's a very basic build because there's not a whole lot of parts that you can put on it, but the weapon share code will be in the description down below, as well as in the top pinned comment. And in any case, I'll leave you a few highlight clips of me using this specific build. But yeah, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.
Detecting! This way! No secrets under my arrow!